helping hand extended to sanctuary cities as anti-ICE protests rage across the country.
While the president says a shutdown before the midterms could be the key to securing the border.
And scrapping security screenings, the brand new plan for more than 100 airports nationwide.
Fox and Friends First on a Thursday morning starts right now.
It's a great song, but Todd was looking for something like to get him really pumped up, something with a beat,
So
right?
we have a little dance in here
He
on
was
a Thursday.
very excited. Well, you can dance later, okay?
Is that okay?
Is that all right?
Allowed by the Fox people to dance it? I don't know about that. All right.
All right, good morning. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday morning. I'm Jillian Mealy and for Heather Childers.
And I'm Todd Pyro. Thank you for starting your day with us. And we begin with a serious Fox News alert, a possible break in the weeks-long search for missing Iowa college student Molly Tibbetts. Police now looking into a reported sighting in Missouri.
Officers responding to a truck stop more than 200 miles from where the 20-year-old went missing in Brooklyn, Iowa, east of Des Moines. She was not found, but police are reviewing video footage. Tibbetts was last seen 2 weeks ago at her boyfriend's house. He spoke exclusively to Fox News.
Just said, bye, I love you, and kissed her bye. I left for Dubuque, Iowa, which is about 100 miles away, and I was staying there for work until what was supposed to be Friday. And then Thursday, after found out that she was, missing, I drove home, contacting my family, her friends, literally anybody to go look for it. It's Brooklyn. You don't lock your doors.
Well, police have ruled him out as a suspect. The reward for information about Tibbetts is now at $30,000, and we will have more on that throughout the morning. 500 square miles now totally charred in the California wildfires. That's bigger than the entire city of Los Angeles. The state has already spent more than a quarter of its annual fire budget before peak fire season even begins. More than 1,000 homes now destroyed in Northern California. People in Redding coming home to piles of burned rubble where houses once stood. 3 new fires erupting over the last 24 hours near Yosemite National Park.
A judge delivers a helping hand to sanctuary cities amid the growing anti-ICE movement. But with midterms just months away, President Trump refusing to back down on his demands for border security. Griff Jenkins live for us in Washington, D.C. with the very latest on the border battle. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Todd. It appears the border battle is coming to Washington sooner rather than later, but in California, it's already playing out in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The judge is ruling 2-1 that it is unconstitutional for the administration to withhold funding from sanctuary cities. Chief Judge Sidney Thomas writing, absent congressional authorization, the administration may not redistribute or withhold properly appropriated funds in order to effectuate its own policy goals. The ruling applies to a lawsuit brought in 2 California counties. San Francisco's mayor tweeting, "This was not the first attack on our values by the Trump administration, and it will not be the last. We supported this legal challenge because the law is on our side. San Francisco is and will continue to be a sanctuary city that stands up for our immigrant communities." But the Department of Justice issuing this statement saying today's divided Ninth Circuit opinion is a victory for criminal aliens in California who can continue to commit crimes, knowing that the state's leadership will protect them from federal immigration officers whose job it is to hold them accountable and remove them from the country. Meanwhile, the president indicating on Rush Limbaugh's radio show that he may be moving closer to a showdown over funding for border security.
It's like pulling teeth, though. Getting these guys to get it done is, and you have no idea how tough I've been. And I say, hey, if you have a shutdown, you have a shutdown. Now, the shutdown can also take place after the election. I happen to think it's a great political thing because people want border security.
As for whether this ruling applies to the nationwide question over withholding money from the sanctuary cities, which stems from a January 2017 executive order, a lower court will have more hearings about that. This is specific to California. Todd, Jillian.
It's going to be interesting. Griff, thank you very much.
Taking aim at sanctuary city leaders, former acting ICE director Tom Homan says he can't understand how liberal politicians justify putting politics ahead of safety.
Now, Homan is honing in on Portland, Oregon, where ICE agents say their 911 calls were ignored during the nearly 40-day anti-ICE protests.
A lot of criminals are now walking the streets of Portland that would have been arrested that week. So the mayor turned his back on the citizens of Portland for his own political ambitions. It's pathetic what's going on in Portland. I don't know who's worse, that mayor or the mayor in Oakland or Philadelphia or New York. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them right now who have never accepted this president, and they're going to put their own political ambitions ahead of the public safety of their citizens. And I want to remind the Portland mayor, I'm sure he's going to hear about this, these ICE employees are also taxpayers and citizens of the city of Portland. He has a duty to protect them when they call the police.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler responding to reports he ordered police to ignore 911 calls from ICE agents, calling them, quote, inaccurate and inflammatory.
President Trump now sanctioning several top Turkish officials for refusing to release an American pastor. The White House says Turkey's detainment of North Carolina pastor Andrew Brunson is unfair and unjust. He's been behind bars for more than 2 years, accused of spying and terrorism. Brunson was placed under house arrest last week due to health concerns. The U.S. on high alert as new reports suggest Iran is preparing to carry out a major military exercise within the next 48 hours. The move aimed to show Iran is capable of blocking the Strait of Hormuz, or what experts call the world's most important oil transit checkpoint, or choke point, in fact. 20% of oil traded around the world moves through that waterway. Tensions between Iran and the U.S. have been rising since President Trump withdrew from the nuclear deal.
Another major step towards peace. President Trump thanking North Korea for returning remains of U.S. servicemen, saying, quote, thank you to Chairman Kim Jong-un for keeping your word and starting the process of sending home the remains of our great and beloved missing fallen. I am not at all surprised that you took this kind action. Also, thank you for your nice letter. I look forward to seeing you soon. Now, the next step, working to identify those remains. Dan Springer has the latest.
We proved these heroes were never forgotten. Our boys are coming home.
That was Vice President Mike Pence at a homecoming ceremony more than 6 decades in the making. The vice president, whose father fought in the Korean War, headed up Wednesday's delegation, greeting cases of what are believed to be the remains of Americans killed fighting in the Korean War.
These heroes will be the heroes who led the way to many more homecomings in the future.
The ceremony comes weeks after President Trump's face-to-face meeting with Kim Jong-un in Singapore. It was there the North Korean leader committed to getting remains of American servicemen returned home. The remains will stay in Hawaii for examination by the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency. Last year alone, the group positively identified more than 200 sets of remains.
One of the few countries in the world that spends this type of effort and time and money to bring closure to our military families, and each and every one of those families has been made a promise by the U.S. military to come home. We're the end of that promise.
More than 7,600 U.S. servicemen who were killed in the Korean War are still missing today. The next step would be for North Korea to allow U.S. crews to go in and do field operations to find more of those remains, something that hasn't happened since 2004. In Honolulu, Dan Springer, Fox News.
The judge in the Paul Manafort trial slamming Robert Mueller's team over their descriptions of Manafort's expensive tastes. Judge T.S. Ellis telling prosecutors, quote, we don't convict people because they have a lot of money and throw it around. The government is not going to prosecute people for wearing nice clothes. Prosecutors tried introducing photos as evidence that show Manafort's high-end wardrobe. If that was a crime, Jillian Mealy would be in jail. The former Trump campaign manager is on trial for bank fraud and tax evasion charges that are not linked to the campaign.
Voters heading to the polls for Tennessee's primary today. GOP gubernatorial candidates include U.S. Congresswoman Diane Black, businessman Randy Boyd, State Representative Beth Harwell, and businessman Bill Lee. In the Senate primary, former Democratic Governor Phil Bredesen leads the field. For Republicans, it's U.S. Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, who has President Trump's endorsement. It is 10 minutes after the hour. Democrats say there's no such thing as voter fraud, but a new report finds thousands of non-citizens are registered to vote in one state alone. Why our next guest says this is even more proof we need voter ID laws nationwide.
It's 2 minutes out of our day that we could also be spending just embracing what our country should.
Dak Prescott standing up for the national anthem. Why the Cowboy star says it's not the right time to protest.
As investigators pore over the black boxes of the crashed plane in Mexico, we are getting a first-hand look at the terrifying moment of impact from inside the jet.
Jesus' name.
Passengers screaming as the plane crashed and burst into flames in bad weather. But miraculously, all 103 people on board survived. An American priest was on the plane and says God was watching over them.
The smoke was unbearable, a burning sensation of breathing. It was pretty dark. It was pretty dark. We didn't lose anyone.
The pastor broke his arm, but will be okay.
That is a miracle. Kids terrified, others sick after an amusement park ride goes haywire, refusing to stop. Local media reports out of Pittsburgh say the brakes broke on the pirate ship ride at the Kennywood Park, keeping the ride in motion for a full 15 minutes. When working properly, the ride only lasts about 2 minutes. Came just a day after a children's Thomas the Train ride derailed. That ride had just opened last week. All right, a high number of non-citizens are being found on voter rolls across America, raising new concerns ahead of November.
For example, nearly 5,600 non-citizens were found to be on the books in Virginia alone. So why are Democrats fighting calls for voter ID checks? Joining us now is Republican strategist Chris Nywam. Thank you for joining us, Chris. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
You look at the numbers, and that's a pretty high number, nearly 5,600 people. We're just talking about in Virginia. What do you do about that?
Well, I think you need to take a step back and just look at the processes that are in place and look at election integrity in general. I mean, there's a lot of there are state databases that are used that traditionally you would mandatorily you would actually compare when you look at people that sign up for petitions or these variety of different ways that people register. And so you need to standardize those processes, because if someone has to show an ID to get allergy medication at Walgreens, they should need to show an ID to vote in our elections.
We saw a number of examples last night on the channel of Democrats in previous elections, and just the President Obama, when he was president, saying this is a made-up issue. There's no voter, fraud with regard to non-citizens. What's your response to all that?
Well, our response is they're completely hypocritical. I mean, you look at, there's documented cases. There's a woman that had come forward and said, listen, I'm not registered to vote. I'm a non-citizen. I've been registered for several different years. This was a case in San Francisco, and the election official essentially said, well, I've never seen anything like this, and, we're not cross-referencing this with a driver's license, but I really don't think it's a big problem because I've never heard of it before. I mean, how can you possibly say that when you're not actually implementing this? So they're screaming about Russian collusion. We haven't been able to prove that, but yet we can prove that people are able to register this way. Not a word. I mean, it's just getting kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
So you say that, some people say, well, this isn't really a problem, but explain to those people why this can be detrimental and why it needs to be fixed.
Well, I mean, look, we all debate and have a difference of opinions on issues in this country, very important issues, and we're not going to, verify who's able to vote and who's able to put people in to make those critical decisions. But again, you need to show an ID to get allergy medication at Walgreens. It just doesn't add up. So I mean, we've just got to be consistent and to take databases that do work and just do some basic. It's rules 101 type thing. So.
Chris, you say the president's approach to voter laws and voter ID is correct. Why do you say that?
Well, I think that we just need to implement laws and that are on the books. I mean, it's just kind of common sense. I think this president, one thing that's been worked very well for him is the shackles are off of kind of like the special interests and the people that want to kind of play these political games. I mean, he just wants to get things straight, and I think a lot of people out there, a lot of voters, really want to get things straight, and it makes sense for them. It's very intuitive. So it's another issue where Democrats are weak, and I think the president's just going to get it right.
All right, Chris. Chris, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Good to be with you.
All right, time now, 18 minutes after the hour. 2 illegal immigrants so desperate to get into the country, they made fake birth certificates. The family bust at the border.
And a major shift in security. The TSA could end screenings at more than 100 airports. Jackie Ibanez here with the plan sparking big concern nationwide.
Put your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby.
Welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour now. A Senate Democrat threatening to hold a State Department nomination hostage until President Trump bans 3D printed gun blueprints online. Ed Markey of Massachusetts says he will oppose the confirmation of R. Clark Cooper until the president acts. Blueprints were set to hit the web yesterday, but were blocked by a judge after the State Department settled with the company posting them online. This as the TSA says 2 3D printed guns have been found at airports since just 2016.
All it takes is one overheated laptop battery to take down a plane. According to the FAA, if a lithium-ion battery catches fire in the cargo hold and spreads to aerosols or other flammable materials, the flames could overpower the plane's extinguisher system. Those batteries are commonly found in laptops and other electronic devices. They are not banned from flying.
That's scary. And it all comes as the TSA may be considering eliminating security checkpoints. Yep, you heard that right. More than 100 airports around the country could do away with the scanners to save money.
Jackie Ibanez joins us live to explain the stunning proposal. And Jackie, how is this going to work?
Yeah, it's kind of a scary thought, huh? Good morning, guys. It's a consideration that is raising a lot of eyebrows this morning when it comes to safety in the skies. According to internal documents obtained by CNN, the TSA is considering getting rid of passenger screenings at more than 150 airports nationwide. The ban would apply to small or medium-sized airports with planes that have 60 seats or less. Officials say the idea has been explored since 2011. Now, the reason? Money. The June and July documents suggest the change could save $115 million annually. But analysts warn the face of terrorism has evolved since 9/11, with lone wolves now using low-tech ways to attack soft targets. Then Department of Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly gave that very warning after announcing a laptop ban in carry-ons last year. Listen.
Terrorists want to bring down aircraft to instill fear, disrupt our economies, and undermine our way of life. And it works, which is why they still see aviation as the crown jewel target in their world.
Every day, the TSA screens nearly 5 million carry-ons for explosives and prohibited items. Even more alarming, nearly 4,000 firearms were found in bags at checkpoints across the country in 2017, setting a record average of nearly 10 firearms found per day. The report does not list the specific airports that could be affected, but it would likely impact 10,000 passengers per day.
And we're just sitting here talking about it while you were doing your report. We're fired up about it. You can just imagine what the viewers at home are saying right now.
Yeah, exactly. We've been asking you guys at home, will this keep the skies safe or open doors to more threats? Donna on Facebook writes this: if they did this, it will not fly. I will not fly again. She says the image of no screening is forever implanted in my mind. It's called 9/11/2001. And Matthew on Twitter says they should cut staff, not public security, to save money. And a viewer on Instagram says one of the worst moves, in my opinion. We need to protect the United States and other countries from potential terrorism, and this is surely a step in the wrong, and it would encourage people to commit such atrocities. So, yeah, people definitely not happy about it. I don't really know why you would.
Right. I guess, though, to that one viewer's comment, if you cut staff, though, you could be, you know, cutting some of the safety for the public. Who knows?
You know what I find interesting about all this?
What?
We always complain about TSA. Oh, I have to go through the line. I have to go do this. You know what people like less? Dying, it appears. So, you know.
I'd rather be safe than sorry. Jackie, thank you.
Jackie.
You're welcome. A Fox News alert now. A possible break in the case of Molly Tibbetts. The missing Iowa student may have been spotted. We are live with the breaking developments.
Sticker shock. A woman rams into a man's truck because it showed his support for President Trump. Carly Shimk is here with reaction to the political road rage coming up.
Brooklyn, you don't lock your doors. This is like the first time anything like this has ever happened.
Wow.
Yeah, we lock our doors now.
But it's very possible that the home was not locked that night.
It's more than likely, because nobody ever thought there was a reason to. Again, it's Brooklyn. Nothing ever happens in Brooklyn.
The boyfriend of missing University of Iowa student Molly Tibbetts suggesting she may have been kidnapped from his home more than 2 weeks ago, where she was dog sitting alone after returning from a jog.
Fox News contributor and former detective Ted Williams is on scene with the very latest. Ted, good to have you here. What is the mood in that community right now?
This is a community that has come together, guys, to try to bring Molly home. We're here in Brooklyn, Iowa. This is small town America. This is where you would never expect your loved one to go missing like Molly has gone missing here.
Ted, we understand that there may be some new information in the case that Molly may, and we stress may, have potentially been spotted. What have you heard? What do you know about that?
Well, law enforcement and the community as a whole are always optimistic that Molly will come back alive. I've found in these kinds of investigation, guys, that it is not out of the ordinary for individuals to see someone that looks like the victim of a crime elsewhere. We can only remain optimistic at this stage.
Right, and that latest information is that officers responded to a truck stop more than 200 miles away from where she went missing east of Des Moines. And the police are reviewing that video footage now.
Ted, it's been more than 2 weeks since she was last seen. Aside from the Missouri potential spotting that Jillian just reported, in your experience, what is happening right now in the investigation so many days after the last official spotting around there July 18th?
Well, guys, what is going on is law enforcement is working somewhat backwards. They're working from the time she went missing on July the 18th. They're looking at her digital footprint. They're looking at her internet sites. They're looking at her cell phone, or they're looking at her associates or those who she associated with. This is a full blown investigation where you have the local, state, and federal law enforcement officers working.
We understand there was a vigil last night and you were able to go and speak to some people there. Let's go ahead and listen to what Molly's cousin had to say from last night.
The last weeks have been really difficult. You wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, how am I going to get through this day? You're looking through cornfields and you're putting up posters and you're sharing their photo on Facebook, and that's what it's all about. If it wasn't for God, I don't know how I would be standing here.
Ted, you can hear the emotion. I know that you felt it and you saw it last night as you were there. In that soundbite, we heard Molly's cousin say, you're scouring through these fields. Describe for us the town, for people who've never been there, who can't imagine what this town is like. We've heard that it's a town where you don't lock your doors at night. What is it like there?
This is a wonderful town. This is an all-American town. This is a town that anybody in America would love to live in. You have wonderful, caring people here in this town. And what makes it unique is that they've all come together. They've galvanized themselves. They're putting out T-shirts. They're putting out posters. Everywhere you go in this town, you can see where this town has come together to try to bring Molly home. It's a wonderful town.
And obviously, we want to help get Molly home. On the bottom of your screen, just as we saw under your shot there, Ted, we're going to do it again. The County Sheriff's Office phone number, 641-623-5679. Please, anyone out there, no bit of information is too small.
And police are investigating every single lead, every single tip. They've gone through hundreds already. Molly's dad and boyfriend joined Fox and Friends at 6:20 this morning. That's Eastern time. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And we will, of course, keep you updated on the very latest. And we will check in with Ted again live in Iowa in our next hour. Ted, thank you so much for your information.
My pleasure.
The man charged with murdering an Arizona state trooper with another officer's gun is waking up behind bars. Isaac King released from the hospital and booked into jail. Police say he shot and killed Trooper Tyler Edenhofer as he responded to a call. King somehow got his hands on a trooper's weapon during a fight and opened fire. Trooper Edenhofer, a Navy veteran, joined the force this year and was engaged to be married. His funeral is tomorrow.
74 protesters arrested during a demonstration against Brett Kavanaugh. A rally against President Trump's Supreme Court nominee was held outside the Capitol, but a group of protesters then went inside. Some later claimed to have prevented Kavanaugh from meeting with senators. Those lawmakers confirmed they did hold their meetings. Police say the arrests were for, quote, crowding and obstructing inside the building.
2 migrants busted after a man falsely claimed to be the father of a 17-year-old girl while crossing into the United States. Border Patrol agents in Texas later finding out she was actually 18 and the two are just friends. They tried using a fake birth certificate as part of the scheme. It's unclear where the woman is from, but officials say the man was from Honduras.
If you happen to be watching network news last night, chances are you didn't see much about this. The moving, somber ceremony welcoming the 55 presumably American remains to Hawaii after being handed over by North Korea. Take a look. Only one network, ABC, even covered the story on its evening news, and they spent just 24 seconds on it. Both CBS, NBC completely ignoring the story. On cable, CNN aired live coverage for a mere 58 seconds.
Hillary Clinton is headed to Hollywood.
Carly Shimpius with Fox News Headlines 24/7. Sirius XM 115 is here with reaction to her latest gig, Lights, Camera, Hillary.
That's right, Hillary Clinton. She's got a new job on her hands. She's going to be serving as executive producer alongside Steven Spielberg on a new TV project about the women who fought for the right to vote. So this TV project is based on a book by Elaine Weiss called The Women's Hour, The Great Fight to Win the Vote. She shared her excitement about this whole thing on Twitter, saying, "I'm thrilled to be joining forces with Steven Spielberg to bring Elaine Weiss's book, The Women's Hour, to TV. It's about the women who fought for suffrage nearly 100 years ago. We stand on their shoulders, and I'm delighted to have a hand in helping to tell their stories." So the folks who don't like Clinton's politics, they are A-OK with this latest Clinton-related development. John says, yes, stay out of politics. You're a better person when you do. And Cindy, I like what Cindy has to say. She says, if you can't say something positive, don't say anything at all. So there you go.
There you go.
Politician
Good words of advice.
to producer. Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got a little bumper sticker bumper cars up there in Massachusetts.
A woman in Massachusetts is being accused of intentionally driving her car into another vehicle because it had a Trump bumper sticker on it. Now, the alleged victim told the Cape Cod Times that a woman began screaming at him, calling him a racist, before driving her car into his. 25-year-old Chloe Wright was later charged with that crime. This pretty surprising news, even by today's standards, is going viral now on social media. One Twitter user saying, "I proudly display my Trump bumper sticker on my car here in San Diego." Another Twitter user says, "People are crazy. I see this getting worse by the day. What happens by the time 2020 arrives?" And another person in Massachusetts says, "I also sport a Trump 2020 sticker on my car. Risky in the People's Republic of Massachusetts."
Interesting.
If true, scary stuff.
That shot you have right there, the most disturbing thing in that video, who puts a sticker of anybody on the hood of their BMW?
Yeah, that was a weird spot for that.
This is weird.
I have no answers there.
Okay, so I still watch the Friends reruns, and I am hoping for a reboot. Is it going to happen?
I was just watching the Friends reruns myself, too. And guess what? Good news for the both of us, because Jennifer Aniston says a reboot may be a possibility. She spoke to InStyle magazine and said, "Courtney Cox and Lisa Kudrow and I talk about it. It really was the greatest job I ever had, but you never know. So many shows are being successfully rebooted." Kind of leaving the door open there, if you ask me. So many people are excited about this, like Cheryl, who said, "Would love it. We never tire of Friends." Krista also chiming in saying, "We are fantasizing about that, too."
Would Ross and Rachel finally end up together for the next one? I mean, this is the big questions.
Oh, my life would be complete.
Thanks, Carl.
The producers are cheering in our ears. Wow.
See, so there are people that want this to happen.
2004, people.
Ladies. Thanks, Carly.
Thanks a lot.
It is 39 minutes after the hour. Sorry, not sorry. The Connecticut lawmaker creating an uproar by kneeling for the Pledge of Allegiance is now speaking out, and what she has to say may make your blood boil.
And the patriotic moment, the symbol of our freedom, soars. This bald eagle's amazing recovery that will make your morning.
You can dream or do or say what you wanna. You can write it down and you can back it.
42 minutes after the hour now. Don't expect to hear sorry from the Connecticut official who kneeled during the Pledge of Allegiance at 2 town meetings. Haddam Selectman Melissa Schlag taking to Facebook, writing this half-hearted apology, saying, quote, "I want to apologize for making it seem like I thought all of Haddam was racist and fascist. However, there are strong veins of fascism and racism running deep in Haddam. We need an intervention." That's not an apology at all. Despite the backlash, she's not stepping down.
I have no intention of resigning. Something that was a silent 10 seconds has blown up across the world, and it doesn't need to be this difficult to get your points across.
In the next hour, a Fox and Friends first selectman, Liz Millardo, who won her seat from Schlag, will join us live to react. From kneeling for the pledge to standing for the anthem, Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott supporting the policy, or supporting his team's policy, to stand for the flag despite backlash on social media.
I never said I didn't believe in the social injustice and things that's going on. I just said I didn't think the national anthem was the time limit. It's 2 minutes out of our day that we could also be spending just embracing what our country should be.
Prescott says he's ready to move past kneeling for the anthem and wants to find a better way to protest. Jillian?
Thanks, Bob. Senator Marco Rubio is introducing a new bill to support working families, which would give parents early access to their Social Security payments to pay for childcare. The bill is backed by Ivanka Trump and matches the one promoted by the Independent Women's Forum. Patrice Lee-Onwuka is the senior policy analyst for the Independent Women's Forum and joins me now. Thank you for your time this morning. So why don't we go ahead and start by taking a look at what this would do? And we have a graphic here to help show you. And the first thing is parents would have an option to receive monthly payments to help cover costs such as rent, groceries, and baby supplies. In return for receiving Social Security early, parents would defer retirement benefits for 3 to 6 months or the amount of time necessary to offset the cost of parental benefits. What do you see, Patrice, as the most important aspect of this?
Well, it's great for women. Women don't have to drop out of the labor force and go on public assistance, which about 17% of new parents do. It's a win for workers. I mean, this is a way of ensuring that you can take the time off that you need to welcome a new baby to your family. And, you know, it's great that that private companies are stepping up, you know, and particularly those coming out of the tax cuts, you know, companies like CVS and Walmart who are offering paid benefits. But not every worker has those. So this is a targeted plan to get at those low-income workers in particular who don't have paid access or paid parental leave, but can, you know, use their own savings, so to speak, and ensure that they can fund their time off.
So what would you say to the critics who say we don't need this?
Well, you know, I can understand that there's a concern about expanding the size of government. This does not expand the size and scope of government. It ensures there are no new taxes, which is great for taxpayers. You know, this is a way of ensuring that women can stay in the workforce, stay attached to the labor force, which is great. It ensures that, you know, it doesn't crowd out the current benefits that a lot of companies already provide to their workers. But it's a way of, again, targeting to aid to those parents and families who need it most. And this staves off some of those bills coming from the left that want a new entitlement, that want new taxes, that want greater government involvement in paid leave.
Do you see this happening?
I hope so. I mean, this is a conservative bill. This is the right coming to the table with a solution for families and for workers. So far, the left has only come to this conversation, but I think everyone recognizes that keeping women in the workforce, that ensuring that parents and families have the access to the resources they need is really important. And so I think this will make some headway.
Who wins if we get this ultimately?
Oh, workers win, women win, taxpayers win.
All right. Can't beat that. Patrice, thank you for your time.
Sure.
It is 46 minutes after the hour. Say it ain't so. Back to school shopping already in full swing, from backpacks to laptops, where you can get the best bang for your buck. Senator Elizabeth Warren getting evicted? The brand new push to kick the Democrat out of California. Stay right there.
$32.5 trillion over 10 years. That's how much Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan would cost taxpayers, according to a recent study. Sounds like a lot, but another socialist Democrat says it will actually save us money somehow.
The system we have now costs taxpayers $47 trillion.
$47 trillion.
And a single-payer system? Yeah, and a single-payer system would wind up changing that cost. It would reduce that cost to $33 trillion.
So you're
that's
actually
a figure that's widely quoted.
Yeah, you're saving us money then, is that right?
Single-payer systems save money.
I love Hemmer's reaction there. That's 30-year-old Sarah Smith running for Congress in Washington State. She takes on 11-term incumbent Democrat Adam Smith in the primary next week.
Senator Elizabeth Warren would not be allowed in the newly proposed autonomous native nation in California. That's according to the co-founder of the plan.
Elizabeth Warren would not be able to come in there unless the native people of that area said that she's welcome. So if the native
she is a native. Well, hold on, Marcus. Slow down. She is a native person.
It doesn't matter what she says. She wouldn't be allowed in.
A group in favor of California secession wants to give part of the state to Native Americans to, quote, right some of the wrongs. Warren has come under fire in recent years for claiming she is part Native American.
I don't even want to say this, but end of summer sales are about to heat up.
Tracy Carrasco from our sister network, Fox Business, here with the best buys in August. Hi, Tracy.
Good morning. Yes, it is officially August. As you said, Todd, end of summer sales are here. Back to school is just around the corner. I don't want to say that, but it is true. So there are many sales going on right now. A lot of school supplies on sale. At Staples, you can get 25% all school supplies with the purchase of a backpack. Target also has a deal. Walmart select school supplies, including pencils, crayons, rulers, start at $1 or less. Clothing, you can get a lot of clothing for sale for kids as well. The Gap, Children's Place, J. Crew. The Gap, you can save up to 70% off of select clothes and accessories. And laptops, a lot of sales on laptops as everyone's heading back to school as well. Best Buy, save up to $100 on select laptops. Lenovo, save up to 20% on select back to school bundles. So lots of deals out there.
Wow. Yes, we can see.
Didn't summer just start?
It did. It feels like it.
It's almost over. Sorry.
Went by quickly.
Debbie Downer.
Thanks, Tracy.
Sorry.
All right.